Yo everybody, BirdCrown88 here, coming at you with another YouTube video. And today we're going to be talking about how to make that coin with the Team of the Year players. And there's a couple of ways to make it. But first we gotta predict who it's going to be. I'm going to go over last year, how last year's kind of was, so we can understand our predictions. And I'm also going to be going over who I think it is this year. And then we'll add in at the end how we're going to use this event to make coins. Because this is one of the most sought after events of the year. And with that, it can be the most profitable if you do it right. Same with Evo. One of the most sought after events, one of the most profitable. So we're going to look into this, guys. I hope you do enjoy the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. But let's get into it. So we're going to take a brief look at 22 here just to go over some things, right? Just to go over some things. And that is the Team of the Year players, if you don't remember: Adam Fox, Victor Hedman, Brad Marchand, Connor McDavid, Mikko Rantanen, and Andrei Vasilevsky. If you didn't remember, those are who they are. And they all have one thing in common. And the one thing they all share is they're all X factors. Now, is that a coincidence? Did it just happen? You know, maybe. Maybe it just happened that way. Or did EA make Team of the Year players out of their selection of X factors? Now, yes, X factors are the best players in the game, and they're the best players IRL. So it would come hand in hand why EA would have X factors as the Team of the Year players. So with the understanding that all the Team of the Year players are X factors, let's look at one more thing to get one more argument out of the way that people like to use. When talking about Team of the Year players, you will hear a lot, oh, that person had an MSP, so he can't be a Team of the Year player. It's not going to happen. And I would just like to say, Victor Hedman has an X Factor and a Team of the Year card, and he was one, and he had an MSP before Team of the Year. So EA doesn't care. They will make a Team of the Year, whoever they want to make them. And if they give him an MSP before that, he gets an MSP before that. They don't care, right? So that ends that right there, right? You can't say, oh, he has an MSP, so he cannot get a Team of the Year card. Victor Hedman's the proof of that, so we'll move on from that right there. So with those little things being pointed out right out the gate, now I'm going to discuss some of the stats on 4 options in the positions that I think are potential X factors, and we're going to go over things that I just mentioned, looking at 22, and we're also going to go over what they've been doing that makes them candidates for Team of the Year. And then after I do that, I'm going to explain to you how you're going to make coins off of understanding that these players are very good candidates. And I'm going to give you my prediction on the 6 players that will be Team of the Year, so you can use that information to make coins if we're correct. Remember, we got to be correct. But let's look at the statistics, and while we do it, we're going to open packs. Okay, briefly, we're going to open the Hockey of Nation while we're talking about that over the multi-league, because the multi-league comes with 25 items, but only 10 of them are players. Yes, it has 184 plus, but at least this way we're getting 35 players, 20 of them gold, 780 overalls. Hopefully we can pump out NHL players for either team builders or pump out a lot of high overalls for Team of the Year. Now, while we're going to talk about this, I'm not going to put a lot of time into defense. And the reason I'm not going to put a lot of time into defense is because Cale Makar and Roman Josi were so dominant in their categories that nobody else even came close. For instance, Roman Josi had 89 points. The next closest to him was 65. So, like, it's Roman Josi, Team of the Year. Set it and forget it, right? We've known that all year long. That's a great little pull right there. You can't hate it. 86 overall. We've known it all year long. And Cale Makar, again, 84 points. Next closest to him was Adam Fox with 72 points. Cale Makar won a Stanley Cup. He had a great year. Cale Makar, right? They both have X factors. We don't need to touch on that much more. And then the next one, in my opinion, that has some controversy, but is more of a lock, is goalie with Shesterkin. Shesterkin does have 35 wins in 54 games. Allmark has had a hell of a year. Allmark has exactly 35 wins right now in 48 games. Shesterkin has 50... Sorry about that. Shesterkin has 5 shutouts and Allmark has 3, so it's very close. But I think the popularity on Shesterkin pulls him over a little bit. Now, if you wanted to go a little bit off the cuff of everybody's going to be an X Factor, because maybe not, maybe it was just a coincidence, but Shesterkin's an X Factor and Hellebuyck is not. Hellebuyck had 6 shutouts from January to now, and 31 wins in 61 games, but he also faces the most shots, and he has 600 shots more against than Shesterkin, and he pretty much has the same save percentage. So Hellebuyck, there's a good Leaf boy right there. Hellebuyck needs to be mentioned in this conversation. The only bummer is he doesn't have an X Factor, and I think they're structuring Team of the Year around X Factors. We'll have to wait. We'll see this year. If it's last year and this year, then you know Team of the Years are what X Factors, right? So we're going to go off of that. We're going to have to wait. And then Vasilevsky's had an absolute terrible run. Yes, he has 34 wins, 0 shutouts. I don't think Vasilevsky's in the running at all. Ottinger is another good one. He has 3 shutouts with 34 wins in 59 games. You know, good young upcoming player. No X Factor, so maybe that keeps him out. And we left Markstrom for last because I love Markstrom. And I think people forget how unbelievable of a season he had last year with 9 shutouts. That he's had a bad start to his year this year, but he's still a candidate. With 33 wins and 4 shutouts, I think he's a candidate for Team of the Year. But with how bad his start was, if he had had just even an average start, he would have been a lock, in my opinion. But he's got 2 less wins than Shesterkin with 1 less shutout. So we can't say Markstrom is out of the running. But I don't think his year this year is helping him, because it's more pulling him back than anything. So I want Markstrom because I own Markstrom and I want him to get a better card, so you know I can have him in my net all year long. But at the same time, I don't think so. Shesterkin is going to be my goalie for the reasons that I've given. Being, you know, 5 shutouts and 35 wins, and the popularity of Shesterkin, I think, gets him there. We're going to go into center before we go into wingers, because I think center's a lock and wingers have the most controversy. And I think the winger positions, because of the controversy, gives you the most opportunity to make coins. So center, it's going to be McDavid. He had 172 points from January to now, including the playoffs. What a performance, right? Nobody even comes close to him. The next closest is Draisaitl at 141, and he had the same playoff run that McDavid had, so I don't think he gets it. And then Matthews, yes, had a 60-point season, but boom, there we go, 87. Matthews, yes, had a 60-goal season, but he only had 117 points, including his playoff run. So sure, all 3 of them have X Factors. I think it's going to be McDavid because his season was so dominant. And I wanted to add Tage Thompson in there just for fun because he's having such a great year. 49 goals, 41 assists for 90 points. Realistically, it doesn't get Tage Thompson a Team of the Year card, and he doesn't have an X Factor, so we can probably rule him out. You're just going to have to take his prime times as they come. So center, Connor McDavid. Now, when we get into the wingers, I'm going to start with left wingers, but they both have equal controversy. The wingers I looked at, I'm going off of this year's points, and then I've mixed in last year's points with it and playoffs to get good performances. And it's Robinson, Tkachuk, Kaprizov, and Panarin. 3 of them have X Factors, so I think Robinson is out of the running because he doesn't have an X Factor. I might be wrong. Maybe we just pulled Robinson there because EA's telling me, hey, he's your guy, right? Who knows? Who knows? But we're going to rule him out because of that. Not having an X Factor hurts him, but also he's the lowest on this list for points. Robinson had 101 points. Panarin had 111 points. That's a great run for Panarin, and I think that puts him in the conversation of maybe. I don't know if he's as popular as Matthew Tkachuk. He might be. We have had word that team of the year may not be for people that like bigger cards. And if that's true, that all these cards are going to be smaller than, you know, what people like, Panarin may be the guy. Or Kaprizov may be the guy. At 113 points, he's not the biggest. Maybe he's it, right? He had a good season from January to now. With a +7, 299 shots, Kaprizov could be a very good choice. But mine, Matthew Tkachuk. That's who I think is going to be the team of the year left winger, because he had 125 points, 46 goals, 79 assists, +48, guys. That +48 is unreal. Like, that's an unreal plus minus. I know maybe they don't take plus minus into account, but he is an X factor, and he leads that position in points so far. So I think Matthew Tkachuk is your left winger, and I think there's good coins to be made there, and we'll get into how after I cover your right wingers. And the 4 right wingers I'll be covering that are having the best run right now: Kucherov, Pasternak, Marner, and Rantanen. Now, no, Rantanen and Kucherov do not have X factors. This is where the controversy is going to get in, because in particular situation, I think one of the 3 arguments is going to be what wins them, and that's when EA really shows us what they're doing. Kucherov had the most points at 134 points from January to now. So if it's based on just points, X factor, no X factor, nothing, Kucherov gets the team of the year at right winger. 134 points, he's the guy, including playoff points. Pasternak is one of the best players at the position, but he had 101 points. He has the most goals out of all the guys at the position from January to now, but 101 points I don't think gets him there. Marner has the X factor. So does Marner get it with 121 points because he has the X factor? If he does get it, that shows us that EA doesn't just go off of their points or their playoff run, because Kucherov had a better playoff run than Marner, and they go off of X factor. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. And because of that, you know, my decision's a little swayed. But then Rantanen, all right, Rantanen has 120 points, but they won the Stanley Cup. So do they, like, he's got the points to make him in the argument for team of the year, and he won the Stanley Cup. So yeah, no, Rantanen doesn't have an X factor, but he won the Stanley Cup. With those 3 individual things, right? That's what makes this position so controversial, is Kucherov for points, Marner for the X factor, Rantanen for the Stanley Cup. This position is the hardest one to predict. With what we know from last year, I'm going to give this to Mitch Marner. Just off of what we know last year, all the players were X factors. So I'm going to take that into account, and that is going to be how I make my decision on my 6 Team of the Year players, which are Matthew Tkachuk, Connor McDavid, Mitch Marner, Cale Makar, Roman Josi, and Igor Shesterkin. I think those 6 guys over January to now have earned it with their play. Mitch Marner also has the boost of the 23-game point streak, right? So those guys have earned it, and those are my 6. And now that we know those are my 6, we got to go into how I'm going to be using this information and my predictions to make coins in this event. Because there's one good way of doing it, and you can make a lot of coins if you're right. So let's get into looking at that. And you know, we quietly just had a good little pack opening there. We're just gonna breeze past that. But we got some good cards. I'm gonna have to look later because I don't even really know who I got. But let's look into how to make coins so we can rip more packs and get better pulls. You know, that's what it's all about. Now this method is gonna be for somebody that has, you know, a decent amount of coins. But I feel like now everybody kind of has a couple 100,000 coins at least, where you can at least do this once and go over it. McDavid's not your guy, right? We all know that. McDavid's not your guy. Everybody knows he's getting team of the year, and he's expensive anyways. Shesterkin is 240. Everybody has the idea he's getting team of the year. So picking this card up wouldn't be crazy. At 240, you'd like to get him under 200, and you can get him under 200. I've seen him going for 180. So you can get him under 200 if this is the guy you want to bet on. But again, I wouldn't put my coins in that basket because Shesterkin, people don't really spend on goalies. Josi, everybody knows he's getting team of the year, so you can't really do it that way. And then it's the same with Makar. Because he's so good, Makar is overpriced to the point where when he gets his team of the year, you're not going to make coins there because he's already a crazy price. It's the wingers, guys. The wingers are where you make your coins. If you feel like it's Kaprizov, 200,000 coins for Kaprizov is not bad when you think you get to exchange that in for a team of the year. So people are going to want this card when the information comes out that yes, he is the team of the year. That's what people are waiting for, and that's why this card not this card in particular, but that's why the X Factor cards will spike, is when it's been confirmed. Because the people that make the gamble are the people that win big. And that's just how it is, and that's how this event is going to make you a ton of coins. So what we're going to look at is the two players that are the most controversial and how you're going to use them to make coins. Mitch Marner, you can get him for 200,000 right now. If he is team of the year player, which I fully think he is, this card will probably jump 150K, maybe more, when that information is confirmed. Because people will want to build that card, and they'll buy the X Factor because that'll be cheaper, way cheaper than turning in X amount of players to get the collectibles to build him. And yes, you'll have to build him up a little bit, but not much. Talking about 7 collectibles and a couple of G's. Like, it is what it is. Building an X Factor is a lot cheaper than putting all of those 88s and 87s into a set to get it. So that is why this is the greatest way to make coins when this event drops. And this card here, in my opinion, out of the wingers, has the greatest lock because of the points, the X Factor. He hasn't had an MSP yet. He's got the name that people love. And he's only going, like, you can go pick this card up for 175K if nobody bids on that. At worst, 210K. I've seen him for 180. You can get this card for 180. I don't know why he's going so low when he has the best chance at team of the year. And this card will skyrocket up to like 450K because he's so big. He's cheap to max out for his team of the year card. So I think this card might be the way to go. And this is how you can make 200,000 coins off of one purchase. You just got to be patient. You got to get the right price. Even 210,000 will make you coins. Now, I do want to talk about one thing before I go, and I'm sorry for this video being super long, guys, but there was a lot in it, is with this year being the first year there is female cards in the game, we have to expect maybe there'll be 7 team of the year players. Maybe there'll be 6, and one of them will be one of the female players. You can't rule it out. The female players are having good seasons as well, and they could be a team of the year player. So I don't know who had the best year last year from January to now. So if they do it, for me, it's a random. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, go pick up Sarah Nurse's card because it's cheap and she might get the X Factor because she was also the cover athlete and she's having a great year. I don't know. I can't say that because I don't follow that league. But have the understanding that, yes, we could have female cards as team of the year. Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe more. Who knows? This is the first year females are in the game, so we don't exactly know how EA is going to handle it. Could we have 6 and one of them be female? Could we have 12 and they put female team of the year at every position? We don't really know how that's going to be handled. So keep that in the back of your mind. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Until next time, ciao, ciao.